Hello guys, I hope everyone gone to this week coding question. So the first question is like you'll be given a square matrix and you have to print the sum of the upper triangle values and the lower triangle values separately. Okay. So when you take, for example, when you are considering a 3 cross 3 matrix, the upper triangle will be the values like this. Okay. So you'll be considering all the values in the first row and the first two values in the second row and the first one value in the last row. So that will be the upper right triangle. When you take the lower left triangle, in the first row, the last value will be considered. In the second row, the last two values will be considered. And the third row, all the values will be considered. So likewise, you have to split the whole matrix into two triangles, the upper one and the lower one. And you need to find the summation of the both and you have to print it separately. So that's what. Okay, so let us now get into the implementation part. So first we'll be solving this in Python. Okay, so I'm gonna get the input from the user. So this is nothing but what a matrix we are gonna consider. Let us since it is a square matrix, only the n value is required. So when I give n is equal to 3, it is meant that 3 cross 3. When I give n is equal to 4, it is meant that 4 cross 4. Okay. So the next step, we have to get the values of the matrix. So for that, a simple single line input is enough in Python, right? So list of map of in comma input dot split. Okay, so for how many rows? So it will like for I in range of n. So for n times you will be getting the values. Okay, and x and y be the summation initially. So x will represent the upper triangle and y will represent the lower triangle, and the summation are initialized to 0. And the first thing is I'll be finding the summation of the uppermost, and lastly I'll be finding the summation of the lowermost. For finding the summation of the uppermost, for I in range of n, so you can see that when you consider both the upper and lower triangles, you can see that the row iteration is common. Okay, so you need to iterate to all the rows, but the only thing differs is the iteration to the columns. Okay, you need some conditions that will be included for the iterations in the columns. Okay, so for that, x is equal to summation of, it will be like a of I to n minus I. So it's means like for the first row, when I is equal to 0, it will be considering all the values. When I is equal to 1, one value will be lesser than the n value, right? So n minus 1 means the first two ones. And when it goes to the third iteration, n minus 2, right? So n minus 3 minus 2 will be 1. So the first value only will be printed. So that's for the condition. So we have a function called sum in Python that such that it prints the summation of the list specified. Okay, so here I'm gonna consider this as a list. It will be much more understandable when we implement this in C language. For to make it short, I'm gonna first do it in Python, and I'm printing the x value, and now I have to calculate the lower triangle summation, right? For that, y plus equal to summation of, and the same thing, but it will be done in the reverse side. So n minus I minus 1, and I'm gonna print the y value. Let us now run it up. Okay, so I have missed the comment. Yeah, perfect. So let me check up with the first test case. Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 and 80, 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, 368 and 575 respectively. Okay, so we need to print it in the same line, so I'm having a n over here, right? So let us now implement this in C language. You'll understand it much better. Changing the comment lines, and I'm going to remove this code. So the first thing is like you'll be including the header file stdio.h and declaring the main function. Okay, so first I'm declaring the n and I'm getting the n from the user, and I'm declaring a n cross n two-dimensional matrix. So then I'm gonna get this matrix from the user. So and I need some iteration variables I and j. I'm declaring it. So I is equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. J is equal to 0, j is lesser than n, j plus plus. Here I'm gonna get the matrix values. So ampersand a of I of j. Now we have got the matrix value. So here I'm gonna declare two variables x and y equal 0 and y is equal to 0 initially. So this will represent the summation of upper and the lower triangle respectively. So the first thing is like I is equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. So I'm gonna iterate to all the rows, and the second for loop will be resisting only to specific columns, right? So j is equal to 0, j is less than n minus I. So one thing like in each row one value will be excluded. For the first row it won't exclude any value, but for the second row it will be excluding one value, in the third row it will be excluding two values, and the last row it will be excluding three values, and so on. Okay, so that's what the logic goes like. So j is lesser than n minus I, and here I'm gonna store these values in x. So I'm gonna add up this summation. Okay, finally I'm gonna calculate the lower triangle one. So j is equal to 0, j is lesser than. So you need to note that you have to first find the index value of this. So index value of this will be obviously equal to n, right? So this will be n, and this will consider the last two values, and this will be considering last one will be considering all the values, right? So you can just add up like n minus I, yeah, n minus I minus 1. Okay, so that's what. So only thing is you need to add minus 1, but thing is it will be going from the last. So and lesser than n and plus plus, yeah. So it will be going like this. So the first thing, and when it comes to the second iteration it will go from this, and it comes to the third iteration it will be going from this. So that's what. So when you understand this iteration values, it will be pretty much easier. So here I'm going to add this summation to the y variable, and lastly I'm going to print x and y values. Yeah, I'm pretty much done. So let me just check it out with the second test case. So the second test case is like I just copy these values row wise. Just a minute, I'll be copying all the values. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I think we missed something else, so let me just check. Yeah, so we have done right, but I need to apologize. Like the test cases values are wrong, so it will like 695 and 693. You can just check out. So I just check it out now. So it's like 695 and 693 only. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, guys, we have done with the first question. So let us now move to the second question. So the second question, like you'll be accepting an integer, and you must print the number of times the integer will get updated by multiplying with the digits. Like until you get a single digit number, you need to multiply all the digits with each other. For example, when you take 49, you'll be multiplying 4 and 9, you'll be getting 36. When you multiply 3 and 6, you'll be getting 18. When you multiply 1 and 8, you'll be getting 8. So you have got a single digit number, right? So you need to stop the iteration. So how many iterations you have gone through? For example, you have gone 3 iterations over here. So you'll be printing the number of iterations as the output. Okay. So let us now implement that now. Yeah. So the first thing, you'll be getting the input from the user, and let us say count is equal to 0, while if it is greater than 9. So greater than 9 means it's obviously a double digit number. So I need only single digit number. So if it is greater than 9, I'm incrementing the count value, and I'm gonna multiply those, like I'm gonna multiply that value. So let us say value is equal to 1. I'm gonna multiply that value with a digit of each other, with its digits, right? So if n is greater than 0, value into equal to n modulus of 10. So this will take each digit from that particular number, and to move to the next digit, I'm using double slash, that is float division. And for the next iteration, the n value will be the value. Finally, I'm gonna print this count. So it is pretty much easy. So only thing we need to add is you need to look on the count. So let us check to the second test case. Okay. Why so? Yeah, the output should be 1, right? So why it is 2 over here? So I apologize for all the mistakes in the test case. Now let us also check with the first test case. So 49, 3. Yeah, perfect. So let us now implement the same using C language. Yeah. So asterisk include std award dot h, declare a main function, and declare a variable called n, and int count is equal to 0, and we need a variable called value. Okay, so we'll be getting the n value from the user. So scanf %g ampersand n. So while n is greater than 9, I'm gonna increment the count value, and while n is greater than 0, and here I'm gonna set the value to 1, value into equal to, I'm gonna take each digit from that particular number, and finally I'm gonna swap it with the n value. Yeah, out of all these I'm gonna print the count value. Yeah, so let us now run this. So we'll just check out with 18. Perfect. Let us say 28. It has 2 iterations because 2 into 8 is 16, and 1 into 6 will be 6. So totally 2 iterations. Yeah, right. So yeah, guys, we have done with this week coding question. So if you have any doubts, you can reach out to our discussion forum. Thank you.